started there working on Kodak back in the day.
I don't even
Mattel?
think I know. Kodak cameras. I thought that was a type of code link.
No.
Welcome to the Creative and Code podcast.
Welcome to the internet, my friend.
Brought to you by ID Digital Agency.
Kind of a big deal.
Dive into the dynamic world of digital marketing, creative design, and coding with top experts, latest trends, and actionable insights. Let's get inspired and innovate together.
It's showtime.
Welcome to another Creative and Code podcast.
But you wanted me to finish it. Creative and Code podcast.
Number 8.
Wow.
We're coming along. I think we're getting better.
I think so. It's just practice.
Yeah, it's been a tiring week.
It's been how many launches have there been in the last 7 days?
We've launched Aquaboss. We've launched a United fuel discount card program mobile app and a whole new help and support section. There was something else.
Innovative hiring
Innovative
last week.
hiring went live last week in Dubai,
Social
which was awesome.
was before that too.
Yep, social before that. There's more work coming along there.
That's 5.
And hopefully we're launching a new waste management platform which has delivery zone configuration automation. It's been busy. And all the social stuff that we've been putting out there for Kitchens You Build.
Yeah,
and
there's been just like a lot of ad campaigns starting and just so much going on. And I guess part of that, from my end, on the United app that just launched, there was all like videos showing how to use it and things like that. So it's
it's a lot of the things that we do, it's not just you're building a platform, like it's integrated with television, Channel 9, 7, 10, ABC all went to WA, or they're in WA, but we didn't go to WA. The client went to WA and promoted the fact that this is now there for WA seniors card members, that they get 4 cents off per litre, and they can get that anytime they want, once per day.
I guess the thing, not a lot of our launches, I think, are accompanied by such a huge PR push. So that puts the pressure on even more because you know that they're out there promoting it on like major television.
Even
it has
last
to
week with Innovative Hiring, they had a whole launch night, and they had brand execution and things. Like it's been nuts.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So how do you handle that when you've got 5 projects due in a 2-week period?
Well, luckily for us, our team are pretty bloody good.
Well,
aren't they? Pat each other on the
I would
back.
say that I'm really good.
Yes, but we're talking about the team, not just you, Emily.
The whole team has
Ali,
been
Diego,
slamming,
yourself, Arnell.
I feel like everyone, through the projects that have been launched, everyone on the team has worked on them.
Yeah,
at least a little bit.
coming in
right?
early, finishing late, getting things done on weekends if have to be. We're obviously handing out
dedication.
Friday free days as well, where they can. So this Friday we've got Ali and Diego having a day off. You had half a day off the other day.
Yeah.
But it's important. We can't just
that's
keep...
the thing. If you're pushing out stuff like this in such tight deadlines, you have to kind of be prepared to people to have to get like time in lieu, I guess. When there's so much, especially with like the United app, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be pushed like outside of hours, right? Like 7 a.m., things like that, or like
server
10 p.m. server
and,
ramps. Yeah. So it's things like that you physically can't do during work hours. So like, you have to balance it out somehow.
Exactly, and that's a challenge. But luckily, we've got a team that understand that, and whatever they put in, we
give back.
What's it called?
Whatever you put in, we give out.
No, I'm just thinking like if let's say you pay for parking, and I give you that money, that's called
return. I don't know.
We must be tired. Let's just put it down to that.
It's only Wednesday. My brain's already fried.
People who work very long hours are those in the creative industry. And Jodie, who's our guest today, has had many, many years in the creative industry from the very start, like at entry level.
Giant agencies.
From an entry level kind of work experience person all the way up to group director.
She's crazy. A lot of people don't spend their entire career basically in big agencies. Usually it's like the opposite way around. You'll start in small agencies and work your way up to big ones, but she's kind of done the opposite.
And it's funny, like for the people that we know and that have been guests already, a lot of them they must get to a point where they're like, I can't do this anymore. Or they've done what they want to do and then they want to try and do other things. So, Jodie's coming on in about 5 minutes or so. So keep listening. But this week, what's new in the news?
Good news, everyone.
Uh-oh, I don't like the sound of that.
This is the way.
I just had to do it that way so that our little segment thing could play. ChatGPT or OpenAI has some more advanced prompts
I
now.
think they have some updates they've put in. So ChatGPT, I don't think it's not 4 now. It's O1
O1 preview.
O1 preview.
Yeah.
So this seems like it's going to be better at things like maths and the thing that we're interested in, coding, which I'm curious because I obviously don't do any coding. I don't know what the current version is like for coding. Have you
Pretty
done
good.
much with it?
Well, I mean, from hearing from the guys, from all the devs and stuff, that it does do a good job, but it obviously has its limitations.
Yeah.
There's things like calculations or being able to understand how many letters in a particular word, like recommendation.
Bad with that, yeah.
Yeah, like how many C's, how many M's.
Actually, that's a very good point. I'm just thinking when I sometimes do Google ad copy, and because you have quite stark character limits on that, I might say to it, can you just turn this sentence into 30 characters? And it doesn't understand what 30 characters means.
Yeah, like Google Ads, like you're saying, I think it's like 30 characters for the title. You've got 120 or something
it's 90 for the descriptions. And it just...
You need to fit within that as much as you can.
So I usually, if I go to ChatGPT for ideas, I have to edit. Like there's no way to just take it out of it, which is fine, obviously, because I wouldn't do that anyway. But it's more just that it physically can't do what I want it to. But now, hopefully, I might have to give it a test and see if it makes a difference.
I think all these new innovations, especially the O1 preview, you've got to have a paid account, I think, to use it. So I think, the base model of OpenAI's ChatGPT is great. But then, just like us, if you're using it every day, you want more and more and more ability, and then you start to see these things are possible, you're willing to fork up $20 a month, $20 a month or so. To get that.
It's getting to the point where they are kind of locking these better features behind paywall because they just know it's become so essential to a lot of people's day-to-day now. Like, they know that they can make you pay for it.
I'm amazed and not amazed. Like, for instance, Apple that released their betas for free. Or I know they're betas, but basically you'd think the version 18 they might charge for. If you want 17, you can still do it, but you're not getting all the features. I guess they build that into the hardware cost.
Well, I guess, don't they do that anyway? So maybe they've been updating it so 19 or 18? 18 is iOS 18 is only now available on devices above, a 13 or something.
Max or whatever.
Yeah, like I guess that's how they paywall it, being like, by the way, you have to buy a $2,000 phone to get these features, which I guess people get to it eventually, but by the time they actually buy it a few years after the software's out of date and I think it'd be interesting to see how they start to paywall those features a bit because like you say, this kind of high level AI, it's not everyday use stuff.
It's
I don't
more
expect
advanced
them
users.
to give it for free. But certainly, I guess, is this the kind of thing that Apple will need to build into things like better coding, math and science help?
I think it's going to be important for those that use it. But it's funny, you don't know you need it until you've used it as well.
If you think about this time last year, ChatGPT hadn't even launched yet. And how
That's
different.
Bonkers.
I cannot imagine a time before it, which is kind of scary. I'm just thinking, where will we be this time next year? Yeah, with how far it's gone in just a year. This time next year,
There's a lot going on in that head, Emily.
Sorry.
Well, something you can't use ChatGPT for is branding. Oh, you can in a way, but at the same time, it's not going to be the best brand if you don't have that. Well, from my opinion, human touch, your strategy, which Jodie's going to talk about. Yeah. So what was your key learning from Jodie now that we've just had that interview with her?
I'm just curious, like when she was talking about how she's worked in huge agencies and how they follow such a stark process and then going from that to kind of her small agency and knowing that that's kind of not how small agencies work and how that's why she's built Brandvas. It is interesting because I've never worked in huge agencies. I've only worked in small agencies. So it's interesting to know that that's how big agencies actually run. And that, it's a key learning for me to kind of maybe refine some of my processes because, it can be a bit garbled when we've got quite a small team and there's a lot of back and forth. So, it was quite an interesting insight there, I think, from her. What about you?
I think too, my thing is obviously there is a process for everything, even getting in the car. right?
Well, yeah.
You got to open the door. You got to sit on the seat. You got to turn the ignition on. If you miss one of those things, you're not going anywhere, are you? And that's, I think, the same thing for a well-defined process. Is that if you start skipping bits and pieces, some of the process, things aren't going to work as well as they should. So we'll get Jodie on right now. She'll talk about Brandvas, which is, I don't know if you know what Brandvas stands for?
No.
Brand Canvas.
Oh.
There you go. Let's get Jodie on.
You have my curiosity. Now you have my attention.
Yep, so everyone meet Jodie. Heck, I can't say your surname.
Catalfamo.
Catalfamo. Good to have you here on our
Thanks
8th
for
episode, I
having
think,
me.
isn't it?
Yeah, and first ever podcast for Jodie.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a big moment.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
After all these years, you've never done a podcast.
Nope.
Well, let's get into it. She's a bit nervous, but no, it's going to be a conversation. We'll relax and,
No,
go
all
through a
good.
little bit of you. We won't dissect you like a police officer, but
That's
it'll be
fine.
fine. Yeah, I knew what you were
mean-
thinking. Yeah, I had to go and see police like a year ago because of a scooter incident, but
Jay's a criminal.
that's another
Right.
That's another story.
Anyway,
Different podcast episode.
yeah.
That one.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, we've worked together for 3 years or something now, I think
Oh,
it
has
is.
it been that long?
Yeah. I was
Wow.
looking at that the other day. I hate wearing glasses too. I'll take those off for the glare. On your Brandvas stuff.
Yes.
And, we've done some stuff for some banks and things like that.
We have.
Before we get into that, let's go all the way back to
Yes.
when Jodie was in high school.
In high school. Uni.
How did
Maybe
you?
we don't go that far back.
Or maybe uni, yeah. What brought you to want to do branding and graphic design and things?
Design. Well, look, it's just something I've always been intrigued about, the whole creative agency, creative industry. When I was in uni, I still didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was studying a Bachelor of Business, double major in marketing and management. That's what I did.
There it is. Marketing and management. Cool. So
Yeah.
setting yourself up to run your own business and to be able to market to people or whatever.
I had no clue what I wanted to do.
No. But so when you started into that, were you really happy with what you'd chosen? Like with the things you did?
With the degree, I was really happy with that, but still didn't quite know what I wanted to do. And look, going back, this is the late 90s, there was only a handful of creative agencies around. And to get into those agencies, most people, it was through someone knew someone or, grad program or something. So on my final year of uni, I had one day off a week. So I went to a couple of different agencies and one said, yes, I can come and do work experience 1 day a week.
Nice.
So
So you just
my-
walked in and said, hey, I just want to...
Yeah, I sent a letter and...
Wow.
Oh, the old school way.
Yeah, old school. And, so they said, come in. So 1 day a week I worked there, which was great. I got to work across every department within the agency. And then pretty much at the end, before my final exams, they said, when do you want to start? And
Nice.
Unreal.
which area do you want to work in?
So who was that for? Are you able to...
That was Singleton, Ogilvy and Mather back
Oh,
in the
really?
day.
Okay.
Yeah, the old
Before they
Singos,
split.
John Singleton.
Yeah.
So
And what was your first role there?
I wanted to be in account service.
Okay.
Yeah, so I went into account service as a junior account exec and, started there working on Kodak back in the day.
I don't even think I know
Mattel?
what Kodak cameras. I thought that was a type of code language.
No,
Yeah, Kodak. Gotcha.
Mattel
Nice.
and...
Oh, that would've been cool.
Yeah.
And they had some really good campaign briefs and things for you.
Yeah. So it was pretty great. I mean, started there in 99 and, getting to this big agency, loads of people, loads of departments.
Yeah.
There's a bar. You're like,
Yes.
you're in your early 20s. You're like, this is amazing.
That's so good.
Office manager, food, anything you
Yeah.
wanted. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Kind of like here.
It is
Yeah.
a bit like here, yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
And so
so-
you're on those projects, and how did they go? Did you find that the agency life was stressful, or it was exciting, or?
It was pretty full on, especially not having any sort of experience or thing to it. So especially when we had to do big pictures and things like that. So, you certainly worked the long hours. So
And
that
I
was
think
a
people
bit
have
of
to people have to remember that back then it wasn't websites that you were pitching, or
No, well, that's right. I had my first email address, which I thought was really exciting. So, yes, showing my age. So from there, just obviously stayed in the industry, loved it. Ended up moving to Sydney for another marketing company up there, working on Diageo and some other brands. and then came back to Melbourne working at a company called Badger, which then went to Badger Ogilvy, and then now it's Ogilvy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So, yeah, and in those times, did you find that, the work that you were on and the team that you were with, it was like a smooth process? Because most of the time with creatives, you're working hard hours, long hours, coming up with concepts. Or wasn't that the case for you?
No, well, basically in big agencies, there's a very big process.
Yeah.
So didn't really, and also because I was a junior at those times, so didn't find, it was certainly hard work, long hours, lots of meetings and stuff like that. But there was always a really strong process, through whether it was strategy or account service or creative. And things like that. Yeah.
And were you weren't pitching to the client as a junior?
No.
You weren't even in the room?
Well, sometimes when I was in Sydney, I moved up to account management level, so I was able to sit into presentations, but certainly not presenting at that stage.
And how did you feel like if you were able to be in there, you could see your work that they were demonstrating and talking about it? Did it make you get butterflies or feel?
No, not really, because it's not my work. It's generally creative work. So you just kind of, when you're in account service, you're managing projects and making sure everything runs on time. You're making sure that you're getting all the material deadlines.
Yeah.
You're doing a lot of the ground, laborious
the
sort of
stuff.
Jobs. We did a lot of TV and print, so the processes back then for print and TV are very different to what they are now.
Imagine.
So, we were faxing, things and stuff. So
old school.
I remember when I opened a business,
different.
I had to go to Officeworks and get fax paper roll. And
Yeah,
and you'd run out and you're like, oh my God, I can't see the rest of this document that's coming through. And back in the old days. Yeah. So,
faxes. I've never sent a fax. I don't know what a fax is. Anyway, just thinking, how do you go from that kind of role as an account manager where you're more management, like project management, to then now you're kind of back on the tools doing more like, marketing design yourself? Is that something you missed doing that you kind of had to come back to?
Well, obviously, I ended up as a group account director when I left big agency. So at Ogilvy, I was heading up McCain for Australia and New Zealand, SPC out Mona. So I was in a much higher level position, presenting creative campaigns, working with strategy planners. So, I had learnt a lot over those years working, Melbourne City, back in Melbourne, on big brands and things like that. So, there was a long sort of time and process. So that when I started my own, yes, you did have to go from back on the tools, remembering, how do we do those sorts of things again? Because I had all my team around me. But it's humbling and it's good. And,
because we jumped, I think, from you being like junior to then doing group director and stuff. So there's a lot of learnings and things.
There's a lot of learnings,
and I think that's why you've gone ahead and started looking at the models and the processes and things. That is why you've developed your own platform.
Yeah, so from those learnings, after working at big agencies, I had a gap there when my kids were really little, and I started working for some smaller agencies, and that's where I noticed the big gap between, smaller agencies didn't have, the advantages of having those big departments, of having strat planners, of of things like that, resources with media buying and research and things like that. So that kind of gave me the idea to develop Brandvas. So Brandvas started as a brand strategy platform, just at least having the process in one platform that no matter the marketer, you can follow it, and the better the marketer and the facilitator, the better the outcome. But at least it gives you that structure there, making it really easy and saving the time. So that's kind of where Brandvas sort of started. And then over COVID, we noticed that not very many people were doing strategy because, brands were changing and pivoting and things like that. So we added some more tools within, I guess, the marketing and branding process, like creative briefs, media briefs, script templates, creative competitive reviews. So that kind of just became the sort of the beginning of the process where project management tools are in the middle.
Yeah.
So we're more towards that start of that branding process.
Yeah, and we've used Brandvas quite a fair bit. I think 3 or 4 of our client work that we've done, we've used the process, found it so simple, so easy.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really good, even for those that come in like, I'm not a dedicated brand person at all. I understand what goes basically into a brand, but there's all these levels I had no idea about.
Yeah.
Brand,
and you can customise those letters. So if there's things that you go, not too sure how I'm going to facilitate that. We'll knock that one out. But obviously there's some core things that you can't take out of the process. Otherwise you're not going to get to where you need to get. But yeah.
And I think too, like we did a project together, Ensemble, where we used Brandvas.
Yes.
And we went up to Sydney, met up with Clayton from Ensemble. He had no idea what this process was or what we were doing, but yeah, it was in person. We had it up on a screen.
Yeah.
And we went through it, and within 3 hours?
3 hours, just over.
We nailed his brand, his message, his basic colours, what his archetype was.
I came up with a name.
Yeah,
the new name.
Ensemble.
Yeah,
so. And it's obviously, for what they do, they're a financial advisor network, closed network for people who are financial advisors to be able to communicate and talk and ask ideas between each other. And we were thinking of all kinds of different names and things, but because we went through that Brandvas process,
the process,
it filtered it down, and then we started to realise who we were targeting and who their personas are, and a whole range of different stuff. And then that's when that light bulb moment happened, and Ensemble came to be.
Yes. Well, that's what happens when you follow the process and you do it correctly. It should always generally work out.
Yeah, and it has, and that's where
sometimes it's not as simple and quick as what it does, because it also comes down to how much involvement the person also gives you and things like that. But generally the better facilitator that you can really deep dive into the brand and ask the right questions, that's how you get
I can't agree more. The more input that they have, you'll find a lot of people, if they're in large groups as well, they'll be a bit nervous to voice their opinion.
Yeah.
Is that actually true? And, are they thinking that they don't know enough? But, if you provide that
But the better facilitator on that will be able to manage those group situations and pull those insights out of those people.
Yeah.
And it's just about engaging them in those workshops. But
even if, for us, we dabble in a bit of brand, but for the bigger brand stuff, we'll likely do that brand strategy because we know how it works for Brandvas now, and then we can give that to someone like yourselves that can then go ahead and take that to another level.
Yeah, definitely.
So no, it's awesome. And then the Feedback Pro as well works really well to get the design approvals, and you can see the revisions and things. So no, it's good. It's really good.
No, thank you. Thank you. And the research marketplace, we're concentrating on that at the moment. So to be able to provide users with affordable and insightful market data. So working with Roy Morgan, Smarter, Fonto.
And we found that too, that, we were on a bit of a trial version with you at that time, but even then the cost of research was minimal compared to you going out and trying to do that research with one of those agencies.
And as we know, Google is not research.
No, exactly. And it's, it's all that historical data that makes a lot of sense for how brands should be putting themselves together.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm interested, just moving back to your kind of agency experience with those big agencies. How is that kind of fed into now running JNCO? Is it, I guess, going from project management at a big agency is probably comparable to running your own agency, being the director. But how has that experience informed your current role?
Look, it definitely influences how I run JNCO with my other creative agency. All of those learnings, those processes, I make sure that, that we have those, because I think personally process is really important. Process generally saves time. And when the team know the process, we're all on the same line.
Exactly. And it can so get lost in small agency.
But I think also bigger than that, with just my learnings from agencies, is I've also dabbled into some other things in my life. That, because I just can't sit still, that I think has really been big learnings with how I run JNCO. So a few years ago, I came up with an invention of a pram accessory called Little Helper. So I know people say, you shouldn't count them as failures. That one I do count as a failure,
and what
but
was it?
more learning. Mm-hmm. So it was a pram attachment that you attach to a pram because when you go shopping, so most people add hooks and things like that onto the handles of the pram. Kid comes out, or if the kid's little, pram flips.
Yeah.
So my invention was this attachment, but the business plan of this idea was, I've come up with this idea, I'll create a prototype and I'll sell it to the manufacturers. They can do that because that's not what I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, unbeknownst to me, I went to pretty much every single pram brand company in the world, and they don't take external inventions.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So I made the prototype. I even sent it to the pram buggy companies because it's an easy sort of add-on solution. That sort of fell through. I almost got it across the line with an American company, but it fell short at the end, again, down to the whole invention thing. It was patented and everything. But,
really?
Yeah.
You haven't seen it out in the world yet?
I've seen some similar versions of it out. So, yeah, but look, there were some things and learnings too. And it all comes down to tech as well. Like at the time, the social media wasn't huge, so not like it was now. So even though I got some PR, but it was hard to kind of, when you just get PR when you don't have that big social thing that we did back then. Kickstarter wasn't very big in Australia at the time. People didn't really know a lot about Kickstarter and that type of process of trying to find funding.
Yep.
And at the time when I launched my Kickstarter campaign, which was very stressful, that was like, wow. There was a big barrier to that because at the time you had to create a big, long account and things like that in order to pledge on the site. So there was a lot of brand trust issues with sorts of things that I was trying to use, which are not around now. So, learnings with things. And, yeah, it just came down to that whole chicken and egg thing of, I could sell it into stores, but they wouldn't give me a purchase order. So I wasn't going to upload, spend the money, invest in manufacturing it without a purchase order.
Yeah.
So, and it kind of came down to, well, is that what I want to do for, the next 10 or 15 years to sell this pram, attachment that goes and sort of be a salesperson? And I was like, yeah, no, that was not the plan of the idea.
I think in anything you do, though, you're going to have these hurdles. That sounds like some pretty huge hurdles, though, that being denied, it deflates you so much.
And look, you get 1,000 no's and you still keep going. But, that one I put to bed. I was a bit sad, but I knew that there was no stone unturned on that product. Like, I tried everything. And it came down to the decision was, well, am I going to invest? Is that going to be what I'm going to be doing? And it was, no, that was never the plan.
Well, I guess it informs, not a lot of agency owners have that kind of background of going through that process.
Yeah.
So when you're working with entrepreneurs and stuff now, you actually know what it's like because you've been there.
That's right. Through all those learnings, through trying to launch a product, and I did work with another company that was going to help me try and launch it. But again, we got into the chicken and egg of needing a purchase order to manufacture, so they weren't willing to do it either. But all of those learnings of inventing a product, creating a product, developing prototypes, all that sort of thing. And same with Brandvas, it's a startup tech thing. There's a lot of learnings and insights into that I think a lot of my clients in JNCO have definitely got the better end of the stick of the learnings. Because I can say, no, let's steer this way.
Exactly.
I kind of know that's not going to work from experience.
And who knows where these hurdles are going to be too. Like, who would have known that all prams out there would not be accepting external innovation? Or
I know. And as I said, I got close, but it always came down to, the whole legality of it and,
Is that something you couldn't know beforehand? Can you research that, or is that just a trial and error?
You have to go through that process and go,
is that
no idea.
Had no idea, but so someone said to me, would have you done it again? In hindsight, probably not. But, the advice and the learnings is well, maybe start from the end first.
Yeah.
Then work back before you even develop anything. Start at the end, go, right, what's the plan? How are we going to do this? How are we going to on-sell it? And then if you've got some trusted people in the industry or someone that you can contact and just go, if I did this, would this work? You know, maybe the answer could be different. Maybe I might have gone, oh, yeah, we'll take that. Or others might have gone, oh, no one will take, you know, inventions because we like to have it all in-house and things. So...
Interesting.
Or maybe it wasn't that good of an idea where they did go, yeah, we'll take the risk and we'll take the invention. But, yeah.
Or maybe they've learned from their own things too, is the people that are coming in, they might not have the rights and then they get into all kinds of legal issues. So I guess they've just gone, nah.
Yeah, that's right. It could have happened before, who knows. But, you know, I did, from my experience, you know, from a marketing perspective, you know, I did all the focus group testing, the research, the
time and
you
effort.
know, everything. So... But yeah,
and I bet everyone was like, yeah, I'd go for this and I'd love this.
Yeah, and well, I developed it out of a need and a need that didn't exist. So that's generally the first thing that you want to do is when you're inventing a product is what is the need.
Yeah, and then you give it to some of your friends and like, I don't want to give it back.
I literally hired friends and...
You hired friends?
No, sorry, I hired a researcher that did not only my friends, but, you know, we actually hired people like mums to come in and test it and to give... I wanted... 100% unbiased, you know, information, not just my friends.
Yeah.
So
because they'll say yes to everything, and then you go out to the market, and who knows what they'll say.
Well, that's right, as we know, with research and focus groups. So
how long ago was that you did all this?
Oh, that was probably 13 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe more.
I don't know, maybe there is a Kickstarter ready to go for you now that everyone's...
we put that one.
It's not coming back. It's too much pain.
No.
And then, so JNCO, that started about that time? Or?
No, that started in 2016.
Okay. So it's been going for about 8 years or so now.
Yeah.
Nice. And that started out of... What? So you didn't want to go back to big agency land?
So my kids were still really little. I did think about going back into big agencies, and I do still think about it sometimes, to be honest. I do love it. I've even thought about would I like to go client side one day, which is, you know, I'm always open to things. But my husband was very, very busy at that time with work and travelling a lot. So going back to a big agency was just not conducive for our family, for me to be working those long hours with 2 little kids. So, you know, we kind of made that decision that...
And these days as well...
My career would take a slight change.
Yeah, pivot.
Yeah.
And then, being able to work from home or somewhere local makes a lot more sense. I guess you can be... Like, and our kids do the same. They might need to be picked up, they're unwell, or they've got... you know, sports or whatever after school, and you have to be able to get around. So,
And I did seriously consider it because I still have some great friends in big agencies that I, you know, see all the time, and you know, I spoke to also some people that I knew from my old agency life that have gone client side in some really big roles and things like that. But just, you know, really doing my research on it. But yeah, there was not a lot of flexibility back in those days, 15 years ago. There wasn't this work from home and flexible working, so yeah.
And one of our first guests, Sally, was talking about that. She's from agency land, and she was saying during COVID they were still obviously doing lots of kind of digital pieces and things, but because you couldn't be with anybody, you had to, as a creative, you wouldn't give it to your producer or your account manager to then provide it to be presented. You were presenting yourself.
Yeah.
So you had to learn all these new skills during that time too. So working from home does have its perks, but then you are presenting on your own behalf too. So.
Yes.
So Brandvas,
Yes.
I'm curious how that is kind of feeding into the kind of AI revolution that is now happening.
Yes.
Because especially with something like, I guess, that process, you know, not that ChatGPT can do what Brandvas can do, obviously, but I feel like some people might be like, oh, well, the easy way would be to just get AI to do whatever for me. How is kind of Brandvas building into AI and that revolution?
Yeah, so AI is huge and it's obviously here to stay. And
using ChatGPT things yourself?
Occasionally.
Okay.
But maybe sometimes you just need get that head start. But as we know with AI, like, and especially like with creative and things like that, you know, you can ask it to do 1,000 things. But if you're only asking it to do a square, it's never going to think to do the circle.
Exactly, yeah.
So we still need to have that creativity and that smarts to think outside of, you know, they can come up with 1,000 things, but if we're not coming up with the right questions to ask it, it still may not even be right. We still have to fact check everything,
and the
as we
output
know.
from, I can't remember who it was, one of our guests was saying that ChatGPT sometimes can have the same output, so of an because it's getting knowledge from the world, the things that comes up with have probably already been used, or there might be a trademark on it or whatever, so you've got to...
You have to fact check it.
Yeah.
So currently Brandvas doesn't use AI or synthetic data, because that's another, synthetic data is something else that's really quite growing rapidly. We don't use it at the moment, but it is in the plans for the future.
I think for what Brandvas is, it doesn't necessarily need it except for maybe some idea exploration. That's it. It's not really locking it down or generating brands or logos.
That's right. And Brandvas is not a creative tool. So it is a strategy and process tool. So it's making sure that if you've got 2 people in, if you're a marketer with 2 people in your team or 10 people in your team, it's making sure that everyone's using the same templates and not changing the templates to suit whatever they're thinking.
Exactly.
So it's keeping everyone on the same page, using the same language, things like that. So it can help with things like that. We've got, in the strategy section, we've got tools such as Thesaurus and things like that try and help the idea generation. But yeah, there's definitely ways that we can incorporate it. We just haven't got there yet.
Yeah.
So.
Plus, I guess it depends how it develops. Like if it gets better at identifying what's copyrighted and,
Yeah.
And also, I guess, to the market, because ChatGPT is worldwide. I feel like it doesn't know much about Australia and Australian consumers.
Yes.
So, how relevant necessarily would it be?
Yeah, but I think that's where the synthetic data, and there's synthetic data companies now that are popping up but doing research along that way. So that space is really interesting to me, and how we can even incorporate that synthetic data and overlay it with real data, and how that could work. So something that's kind of in the pipeline, but
I think too, like ChatGPT or any AI will never beat the human mind. I think with creative stuff and brand work and messaging and things like that, it just can't do it in a way like you think of all the key brands out there. There's so much effort and work that goes into those that I don't think any machine would be able to do.
That's right. And creative people are just amazing how they can come up with the campaigns and things like that. So, obviously working with a lot of creative people over the years, some processes, the way they come up with it are very different. But yeah, it all flows down. They need they need to understand the strategy. They need a really tight creative brief. But research can also help with those briefs in understanding consumers more, which is something that tech has given us now, is we have a lot more, I guess, data-rich insights than what we had in the past of how we used to try and collect data when I first started in the industry. But also, on the other hand, consumers have a lot more, I guess, protection over their data as well, and they also have access to it. So it just means that brands need to work smarter as well, and more, they have to be more see-through. Like, people need to be able to have that trust.
And I think, what I'm finding is when you're looking at things like social media and TikTok and all that kind of stuff, the posts that do really well or get the most interaction is the human element of it. Yeah. And I think that's something that a lot of people are playing into with their brands these days, is trying to make them more human versus them being targeted and converted and things like that.
Yeah, and consumers can see through a lot of things now. Like, they can see through the fake. They can see through that, you're just doing this for a reason. So...
And that's where, I think our last guest was into programmatic marketing. So it's targeting devices for particular needs, the probability of someone needing this thing today or tomorrow or the next day or whatever. But, if you started talking to, what the concept was getting a trip to Japan, I started to see all that stuff come out now. And I've become aware, obviously, that because I've spoken about it or I've searched it maybe once, that all this stuff comes to me. I ignore it now. I'm just I don't want to see all that.
Yeah,
I want to do it my own way.
I know, sometimes you got the phone and go, let's book a trip to somewhere.
Yeah,
So getting enough of everything. But,
so, it's meant to be good for you, but now I think people are getting used to it, that they're just ignoring it.
Yeah, 100%. And also now there's this whole thing of what's real, what's fake, too, within social media and campaigns, and, you see things that on the news and Twitter, you're like, is that real? Is it fake? Someone retouched it. So
it's scary, isn't it? Even like people who are animated, like it looks like a real person these days.
Yeah.
It's getting really scary.
Yeah, so tech has come a long way since I've started in the industry, but it's certainly changing the way we have to think about things as marketers.
So a lot of the work that you've done is in brand, obviously, making Brandvas. And I'm catching you on a question we haven't pre-asked, but what do you think are the fundamental things of a brand these days that people need to make sure are integrated into their brand?
Yeah, so it all comes down, for me, it comes down to strategy. So if you have a full understanding of who your brand is, your essence, your values, your brand proposition, that's fundamental, so that if a brand then wants to, say, bring on a new product or service, then you can go, well, can we actually do that within this brand?
Right.
Does it fit? Does it align with our essence, our values, our proposition, and everything that we stand for? If it does, great, perfect, let's fit it in. If it doesn't, okay, either we don't offer this product or service, or do we have to, is it a really big potential new pillar for that company? Do we then create a new sub-brand? Because that brand doesn't fit within, our values. So that's, I think, the fundamental of knowing it. And then once you do know those fundamentals, it obviously comes down to consistency. And I really believe in one look, one feel, one voice. So that just means that your messaging around the brand needs to be consistent no matter what platform, whatever touch point it is. So whether it's on social media or on a billboard, everything needs to have one look, one feel, one voice. Otherwise, you're just going to start confusing the consumer. Yeah, if you want to invest into you want to invest into Brandvas.
Here's another thing. Yeah, so you're looking for investors.
Yes. Yeah. So that's been a tricky thing again with investors into Brandvas is that whole chicken and egg. So. Yeah. Everyone says, new tech, everyone's investing in new tech. Well, no, because they want to know, you're either too early or that's not quite where they're going at the moment. And also with Brandvas, I want smart money. So that means someone who understands the
not
industry.
Just the money, but you want their knowledge.
Yeah, I want their knowledge. I want their help. So it's not just, I don't just want the money. I mean, that would be great. But I want someone that actually understands the research marketing area that can actually help and see what we're trying to do with Brandvas to help grow it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Any investors? Knock on
Yes.
Jodie's door.
Let me
We'll put the
know.
link in the show notes below.
And how do you deal with clients who, I feel like sometimes when you think about brand essence, their mind immediately goes to what should my logo be? Like how do you make them take a step back? Yeah, exactly. And be like, you need to think about strategy. Like is that part, I guess that's part of what Brandvas feeds into, but is that kind of a hard conversation to have with clients to be like, take a step back?
Not really. I guess, clients employ you as you're the brand expert. So, if they knew everything, they wouldn't employ you.
That's
so,
good, at least.
You'd hope that they'd think that most of the time, but you find a lot of clients.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
That is very, that is true. And I guess that just comes down to experience of managing the client and the situation. But yeah, it's just kind of, even just showing them examples, if it comes down to that, going, this is the tagline, this is your essence, these are your values.
Yeah, true.
But also just being clever in the way that you present that and talk about it and making sure that they really understand why you need to have those brand fundamentals and why your essence and your values is not consumer speak. That's internal speak. Like you don't tell people what your essence and values are of the brand as an external communication. And that, and then that forms into your proposition. The proposition still isn't then externally communicated. It might be tweaked in a way in a campaign that you can go look at that campaign and go, oh, I know exactly what their proposition was. And that's a really good campaign and strong campaign linking back. But yeah, you don't overtly. So it's just, I guess, educating your clients about those and following those sort of steps and things.
It paves the way for everything. It paves the way for talent and your campaigns and your website and.
Well, that's right. If you've got your understanding of who your brand is and all your full brand fundamentals, if you're a modern Australian, you're not going to then you know
because it
what
gets
sort of
confusing.
talent that you need, you know, or
Yeah.
if you're going to be influential and out there and, you know, new and innovative, then you know the type of talent that you need to have for that campaign.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
to that
it all
consistency.
ties in to, you know, to understanding
That's
the brand and
strategy.
the fundamentals of the branding.
Is that something you'd recommend, like a client go through Brandvas themselves, even if maybe they have an idea of their brand, just to like flesh it out more?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's a process. Brandvas is there for anyone, whether it's a marketer, someone starting a new business, anything. But the process that Brandvas takes you through, even if you're not a marketer, you'll be able to follow those steps. But as I said before, like if you then work with, you know, another agency or another, you know, division in your planning department or whatever, the better the facilitator that can take you through.
Yeah,
Because
right.
it's all about making sure that you're asking the right questions to get the right input into it, so that you're not just having a brand essence and values that doesn't really mean anything, that could be anything, you know what I mean? So you just really need to kind of dig down into those things. But 100%, if you did the process through Brandvas, you'd probably be 1,000 times better on that output than not doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
And even if you did that and it's still not 100% right, you're going to be a lot clearer at the end and then maybe go back and tweak things. But even if you did do the process and then went into the creative briefing templates, you'd be so clear on what it is you actually want from a creative campaign or a creative element that you need. Whether it's just a poster, but you know exactly what needs to be on that poster, how it should look and feel, and the tonality of it.
Yeah.
And luckily for those listening as well, Brandvas is open. You've opened it to be free for
free.
a while, which is really
Yes.
nice. So yeah, anyone that does
Try
have
it
a
out.
business or thinking about doing a business or
Yes.
starting a pram accessory business, go and chuck your details into Brandvas at brandvas.io.
Yes.
And yeah, go register, have a look. But yeah, your primary audience, your target audience for this is your brand managers, brand agencies.
Yeah, so
design
it's
agencies,
it's anyone now. You know, it's with the process. So you know, it could be students that are studying that need some help. That you know, maybe they're studying a marketing degree. You know, you can do that. Yeah, but yeah, people who are starting a new business that don't really know what to do. Like you can still follow these processes of strategy, and you'll have a better outcome.
and a more understanding of what goes into a
Yeah,
brand. I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that's
And then
really
you
important.
feed that into your business plan.
Yep.
So yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Jodie, thanks. I think, let's do our fast
speed round.
speed questions. I
forgot.
what it was called too.
Ooh.
Yeah. We've got to leave some of it to
Yeah.
on,
No,
the, on the
good.
fly.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Okay. Speed round. This is the exciting bit.
So, yeah, just a 1 or 2 worded answer.
Okay.
Keep it short and snappy. We might come back to some of your answers. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Creative or code?
Creative.
Favorite design tool?
Oh, because I don't design.
Most of your people are Illustrator, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be illustrator.
Nice. Favorite website? Brandvas.io.
Yeah, Brandvas.io.
Plug that.
Or JNCO.com.au.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
How many hours per week do you work?
Fluctuates, as we know, our industry is up
Yeah,
and
of course.
down. So sometimes just full-time crazy hours, and other times I've got like time for lunch.
Are you working at night? You're just
Sound like
working wherever
Jay.
you can at the moment? Or?
Yeah, so generally I work 8:30 till 3:30, and then I'll log
Kids,
on again
karate.
after kids' activities, log back on at night if I need to. So yeah.
Full on. What is the first app you open every day?
Probably Map My Run.
Oh,
Something fitness.
That's good.
Nice. I think every single answer so far in the podcast has been Instagram. So you finally
You broke the mold.
got
there you go.
a good one.
It'll be one of my fitness ones,
Nice.
I'd say.
Coffee or tea?
I don't drink either.
Same.
Water.
Nice.
Dark mode or light mode?
Light, 100%.
Agree. Mac or PC?
Mac.
Work from home or work from office?
Or home. But I'd like to potentially move into office at one point.
To central house.
Yes.
Where are we up to? Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Favorite font?
Helvetica. That's really boring.
Classic.
I know.
Yeah. Design or spec?
Design.
What's your favourite snack while working?
Yogurt.
Yeah. That's so good. Like healthy and you're going for runs.
Yeah. What kind of yogurt?
Or actually, South Melbourne Bullets is a big one.
Oh, what? Is this at the market?
Yeah.
I'm going to get them today, hopefully.
I've got the perfect ratio of licorice to chocolate
Nice.
that I've ever found.
Wow. Okay. That sounds
Fancy.
good. And we got the memo today with wear pink on Wednesdays.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. On Wednesdays we
Next
were
time.
pink.
Yeah.
I didn't listen. Pineapple on your pizza.
Absolutely not.
Oh, I thought she was going to say absolutely.
What?
You're the
I
first
lived in
one.
Italy for nearly 2 years. You do not put pineapple on pizza.
You grew up Australian,
I am,
right?
yes.
Come
I'm
on.
100% Australian. No.
Never had a Hawaiian pizza.
I'm not saying I haven't had it. I'm
But you
just
don't
saying,
like it?
That's
no.
that's okay. Summer or winter?
Summer, 100%.
City or country?
City.
And the final question. Would you rather time travel into the past or into the future?
Can I come back?
To the future.
Or do it back to where I am?
Oh, yeah, you can always come back.
can,
Okay,
yeah.
The future. Why is that? You want to see what happens?
I want to see, yeah.
Yeah.
How far into the future would you go?
I don't mind.
I think the further, the scarier it would be.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I think so. I think a solid 100 years would be enough.
Yeah, I
surely.
think so.
Yeah.
We'll be like, you've probably seen WALL-E, where they're all just on those
Yeah.
trolley things, eating milkshakes. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it. End of speed round.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect.
Is there anything other than Brandvas, JNCO, pram accessories that you'd like to plug?
No. I think for me, it's I know you were asking a lot about my background. I think, but for me, it's all about the learnings. You try things, they may fail or they may not, or it just like Little Helper, it just kind of got to a point where you have to make those hard decisions. But yeah, it's just about the learnings and how you carry that forward and help others, really. And that's what I love about working with clients is, seeing their success is my success. So
It is. It's all about, if you fail, learn. Learn when you fail.
it's learn. So, I'm 100% give it a go, give anything a go. And, to see where you fall, because you never know.
You never know. It always reminds me back to where Batman Begins. You've seen that, where Bruce Wayne falls down the well when he's like 5 or 6 years old. He's scared all these bats going around him, but then he's like, no, I'm going to learn. I can embrace it and stand up, and that's what made him go further. It's a bad experience turning into a positive outcome.
That's right.
And that's what Jodie's all about. Yeah.
Nice.
Thanks for
Well,
coming.
thank you,
That was
Jodie.
awesome.
Thanks for tuning in to the Creative and Code podcast.
That's all, folks.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and found it as inspiring and entertaining as we did. Remember, there are plenty more episodes to explore, so make sure you keep listening for more creative insights and coding tips. A big shout out to our amazing sponsors and the team at ID Digital Agency for making this podcast possible. Got a story to share or want to be a guest on our show? We'd love to hear from you. Send us a 2-minute or less audio clip to creativeandcode@iddigital.com.au. Suggestions, ideas, or just want to say hi, we're all ears. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, stay creative and keep coding.